Hey everyone, welcome back to Gaming Alchemy, the show where I take a game, break it down, and look at those gooey little games inside of it. I am your host, Locke Vincent. We're back with another episode, have a very interesting breakdown for you this week. We're going to take a look at La-Mulana, a GR3 project game for WiiWare and now PC. It is a 2D side-scrolling platform sort of adventure game that has you playing as archaeologist named Lemeza. Now, he is a very Indiana Jones inspired character, being an archaeologist, but also just having that sense of adventure and exploration. The main goal is to explore this tomb for lost treasures, as an archaeologist does, but keeping in mind that the main characteristic of this game is its difficulty. The designer wanted you to think twice, knowing that every action has consequences. So, you're going to see traps, enemies, different puzzles that will make you just cringe or why I like these games is because, like Dark Souls or Demon Souls, that sense of reward and accomplishment after you do something awesome, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And that's why I really, I have a soft spot for difficult games. So La-Mulana is right in my wheelhouse. It does capture that feeling of being an archaeologist and, being a 2D, very retro-looking game. It's all about the gameplay. So let's get into the breakdown. We're going to break this down into two different games, and we'll start with the first one right now. Alright, so the first game that I'm going to break La-Mulana down into is Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. It's a Konami joint, it's kind of the black sheep of the Castlevania series, to be honest, because, even though you are still playing as Simon Belmont, you're looking for the 5 pieces of Dracula so you can go and eventually kill him and destroy his castle. It departs from the Castlevania series because it's non-linear. Now, it's a very convoluted game. The puzzles that you need to solve and the items that you need to get and use in certain places, they don't make sense at all. Now, you could say this is a difficult game, but it doesn't make sense. Like, you have to go and once you have the red orb, you can go over to the mountain and kneel for 10 seconds and then the tornado picks you up. No one in the right mind would know that as a kid. But fortunately, La-Mulana is really, the puzzles are logical, and that gives it one leg up on Castlevania 2 here. But back to Simon's Quest. It's got a day-night cycle. The game gets much more difficult in night. The enemies get difficult. Townspeople aren't around. Certain things can only happen at night. Meanwhile, you are finding items in different areas. Again, it's a game that uses gear gating. We have that Metroidvania term of gear gating, where you get an item and then you can go back to an area, open a previous area that you couldn't access before. So we do see that gear gating in La-Mulana. You are going into the tomb, finding a ROM or an item that you can use for an earlier part, and just exploring. It's really cool. Simon's Quest was one of the first games that I ever played that did that. This non-linear gameplay was new. You always just went left to right with these platformers. And the puzzle solving, again, it goes to that sense of accomplishment. Even though those puzzles were difficult and tough and didn't make sense all the time, once you did solve it or figure it out and get that new whip or get that new item, there is such a sense of accomplishment that, as a kid, there's nothing like it. And Simon's Quest will always have a place in my heart because, again, it was one of those first games where I just played the hell out of it because I had to. I didn't have any other choice. You do have choice in not playing La-Mulana because it does share a lot of the same characteristics, but it improves on them because it is a modern game. It did come out, in 2012. So, anyways, that is Simon's Quest, the first breakdown game for La-Mulana. Let's spin things up, reverse it, twerk it, and check out the second game that La-Mulana breaks down into. Alright, for the second game that La-Mulana breaks down into, we're talking about difficulty. And what other archaeological exploration game is more difficult than Spelunky? I love Spelunky. This comes to us from Mossmouth. Derek Yu and Andy Hall, those two guys made that game. Beautiful game, originally free as a browser game. Came to Xbox Live Arcade, PC, and now it is on the Vita, which is an amazing platform for that game. You can get in and out, do a couple runs, and it's very satisfying. But Spelunky is unique in that it is a rogue-like platformer, meaning that each time you play, it's going to be different. There's no save games, there's no, consistency between, each playthrough, other than the common environments like the ice level, the jungle level, the mines, the tomb, that sort of thing. But your enemies are going to be different every time, the items are going to be different every time, the environment layout is going to be different. So that's why it is so difficult. You can't memorize a level like you would in another game like this, but that's where it shares, that's where the common tie is for La-Mulana. These are difficult games, but they reward caution and smart choices. I love that. I love when a game makes you think. Too often in this day and age, we are getting used to dying, no consequence for dying. That's a thing. That is a very common thing. You can always be resurrected. You can always have an extra continue. This rewards, skillful play and caution and smart choices. Again, the common, I won't dig too much into archaeology. That's a common tie. Obviously, that's too obvious. But, Spelunky, you're exploring these different areas as you collect money and items and gold. You're equipping different things. You might have more luck with a shotgun than a boomerang, that sort of thing. But again, Spelunky is such a frustrating game. You think you're getting good at it, and then you'll just have, you'll have an amazing run and just get wiped in the first 10 seconds of a new level. Luckily, there are some jumping points in Spelunky, or I guess continue points you could call them, where you can start at a certain environment. So if you make it to the ice level, you can start from there and practice that, but you really want to get a good run by starting from the very beginning in the mines and working your way up. La-Mulana is one big world. You don't have these different levels per se, but again, it does reward that smart thinking. So that's the second game, Spelunky, I'm going to break down from La-Mulana. Let's head back, wrap up the show, and have some final thoughts on archaeology. Alright, so that's about it for this week's episode of Gaming Alchemy. We took La-Mulana and we broke it down into two very fine games. Simon's Quest, that non-linear action platformer that had somewhat convoluted puzzles, was very difficult, but rewarded you for exploring. On the other hand, we had Spelunky, this roguelike platformer that, again, you needed to be very cautious while playing this game. Both come together to make La-Mulana a very fine game that you can play on your PC, or you play it on PC. It's there on Steam. You can grab it for like less than $5. Again, these games, I talked a lot about difficulty and rewarding caution. I can't stress that enough in this sort of trifecta of games, because you gotta be a smart person to play these games, and if you're not, you're gonna get punished, which I enjoy. I'm gonna say this. Anyways, if you enjoyed the show, please let me know. And I have all that stuff, Twitter, Gaming Alchemy, at gmail.com if you want to get a hold of me, at Gaming Alchemy if you want to tweet. And check out the other cool stuff coming out on the site. We've got podcasts, we got morning shows, lots of different episodes. And check out old episodes of Gaming Alchemy if you're curious. If you want a game broken down, fire it my way. I'd be more than happy to take a crack at it in the lab. So once again, this has been the La-Mulana episode of Gaming Alchemy. I'm your host, Locke Vincent. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you at a later date. Thanks again. Peace.